Okay, Real Dealers will be going live shortly, so please stay tuned. This is Charles Blair, the Mad Scientist, with Duru Interviews. We'll be going live in about 60 seconds.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Not a problem. I'm gonna have to come back and patch the holes. I had to move your top bar down like 2 inches. They got two holes on either side where the brackets are. And then I noticed your gate's sticking on the bottom. So when I come back to do that, I'll just take a hand pick off the bottom so it doesn't rub on you. But it shuts now. I'll move the locks up.
Okay. Thank you, Robbie. Appreciate it.
All right, can you go, bud?
You too.
Now, so far, we are now streaming live on Facebook. 5 different channels of Facebook. We are streaming live right now on YouTube. 2 different channels of YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, and Instagram. This is Charles Blair, the Mad Scientist. We will be introducing you guys to my special guests shortly. But first and foremost, let's give a little bit of PSA right now. I want to invite each and every one of you guys to come up to this month's Real Deal Meetup event. That's going to be live at the Best Western Hotel at 5625 O'Donnell Street. I will be on October the 26th, so definitely come there. We're going to have our 10th, and I do mean our 10th year anniversary, 10 years serving the community for excellence and real estate investing. Now, I know a lot of you have been waiting for this broadcast. I've been posting over the last couple of weeks about what we got in store for you today. So I'm glad to bring to you Henry, welcome to the broadcast. Wydell, welcome to the broadcast. Give me a big ups, give me some likes, give me some hearts, and let me hear who's out there right now. Also on YouTube, we have James, welcome to the broadcast. Greg, welcome to the broadcast. Michelle, welcome to the broadcast. Cynthia, welcome to the broadcast on Instagram. Terry, welcome to the broadcast. James, welcome to the broadcast, and Twitch and all the other networks. I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your precious time with us today. Now, as I mentioned, today's guest is someone that I like to call the king of the rent to own, the conscious way to financial independence. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying it lightly because this brother here knows his stuff. Not only that, but he is basically taking Baltimore by storm and been doing it for years, revitalizing neighborhoods one rent to own at a time. Everybody, I want to personally introduce to you my guest, Christopher King. Chris, say hello to everybody, my friend.
Hello, everyone. I definitely appreciate Charles for having me on the being interviewed here, meeting you all and everybody checking in. So gratitude for everyone for checking in with that. I look forward to the interview.
Now, Chris, or should I say the king? Do me a favor, my friend. Tell everybody exactly who you are so they'll get just a little sneak peek of exactly what we got in store for them today.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things I go by first and foremost, I go by my last name, King, just as a way of identifying myself and understanding that what I'm building, not from an ego context, but what I'm building is a kingdom. And I understand that as a kingdom to be built, that's how I view Baltimore City. We are beginning to build a movement here in Baltimore City to bring economic transformation to our communities because they've been blighted far too long. So we use real estate and business development as those tools. So we're buying up blocks of properties in Baltimore City. We're renovating them and we're putting them in a 5-year rent-to-own model so that we allow folks to come into the property. We have a method we call invest-to-own, which is what our program, but our method is providing the education, the financial assistance, coaching, and mentoring so individuals who are currently living in Baltimore City can actually take advantage of the development that's happening in Baltimore City. We call it development without displacement. And they're able to buy that property in 5 years while we get them mortgage qualified. So with that being said, I run an organization called the Conscious Real Estate Investors Roundtable. I'm the chief value creator. We've been in existence for about 3 years here in Baltimore City, but I've been in the real estate business since 1998. And we say conscious because we have a higher purpose behind what we do besides just making money. We believe that in order to make a profitable, because we are for-profit entities, but we believe our profits are commensurate with the value that we bring into the marketplace and into the ecosystem. So we believe not just buying properties just to make money, but buying properties to generate revenue and transform communities and our environment. So we have a membership-based organization which we provide training classes for developers, for investors, and then for individuals who will be renting our properties. We call them stakeholders, so they can understand they also have a stake in what we're developing and what we're building here as well.
So, Chris, Mr. King, do me a favor. Tell me exactly what made you decide to go down the path of merging the conscious investor along with the business owner, the entrepreneur, real estate investing.
Well, that would kind of go back to when I was a young man, and I'm from St. Louis. When I was 20 years old, I was a wayward youth, kind of just not focused, didn't really have a purpose or direction for my life until I read Malcolm X's book, his autobiography. That really just changed my whole perspective. It
Mm.
gave me focus and it gave me a purpose. And I began to start to learn real estate and learn business with that kind of community building, economic, want to help my people type mindset. And so that led me to view everything education wise, books, my background, system engineering. I began to approach everything with understanding for the purpose of teaching and helping. And then later on, when um, I lived in Tacoma Park, Maryland, prior to moving up to Baltimore City, I got involved with the conscious capitalism movement, which is a international movement that was started by Whole Foods business owner John Mackey,
Mm.
had similar principles to what I was living my life under, which is just real quick. Principle number one is that you have to have a higher purpose for your business.
All
We
right.
like to say people over money. So we use analogy just as a computer needs electricity to operate, that's not the primary purpose of a computer. So just as a business needs money to operate, that should not be the primary purpose of business. Principle number two is stakeholder orientation, which all your stakeholders must benefit from your business, and that's quantifiable and measurable in how you go about doing that. Principle number three is conscious leadership, whereas conscious leaders we create a company to solve a problem, and through that problem maximization, our profits are commensurate with the value we create. And then principle four is conscious leadership, which we believe in paying a living wage, diversity hiring, and running our company according to core principles. And just to give you an idea, uh, the type of corporations are involved with conscious capitalism. Whole Foods, as I mentioned before, Trader Joe's, Amazon, Costco's, Southwest Airlines. So I'm the former president of the DC chapter of Conscious Capitalism, and I moved up to Baltimore City primarily to bring those core principles to real estate development. I wanted to make sure that if we're going to really take a larger scale type of development activity, it had to have a higher purpose and it needed to have a more of a methodology that allowed everybody to win. And then the other part I would add to it is combining what I said about Malcolm X earlier, adding our history as a key
Mm-hmm.
component to incentivizing folks to want to not only move back in these neighborhoods, but the folks who are currently living here get them pride and home ownership because of the historical nature of West Baltimore.
Exactly. So give me a sense of why you chose the pathway of rent to own. Because as you know, there are so many different exit strategies in our business. What made you gravitate to mastering that rent to own strategy?
Primarily because I wanted to do development without displacement. And for anyone who develops in Baltimore City, that one of the biggest challenges that we have is comps. That
Mm.
because these neighborhoods has been blighted for years, that you can buy a house for $5,000, you can put $100,000 in it, but you're not selling it for even what you have at 105 because the most recent sales comp may be 30 or $40,000. So I knew that I had to solve two issues in order to get this transformation to work properly. Number one would be that we had to have a way of speculating and saying that we want to sell these properties for a certain price, not today, but in 5 years. So that was key. Number two, again, we want to do development without displacement. So I wanted to make sure that I knew that one of the biggest challenges to helping our community get into these properties would be they're not going to be mortgage qualified on day one. So having that 5 year period of time gives me the opportunity to work on their credit, to work with their finances, to get them mortgage qualified without having to rush through things. So that was primarily the two reasons. And I would say it's a third reason as well. I actually, my background being system engineering and community development, I really like negotiating. And I love the actual tendency
Yes.
to sit down and talk to owners of properties that have issues, they can't sell them, they expired listings, or whatever the case may be. And we can sit down and find out a win-win strategy that work for both of us. And so for me, that's always been my preferred investment strategy. Even if I wasn't in the conscious space, I just like the idea of being able to get control of a property for as little as $1,000 or a newly renovated property for $5,000 because I can bring a solution to a developer struggling need to sell their property, and I can help a homeowner who's stuck with a property that they can't sell. I can provide a solution for that as well.
Excellent. Now, to each and every one of you guys that are out there and ladies, please don't hesitate to put your questions in the comment sections on the actual network of your choice. We're looking forward to hear from you. Tell me right now, Chris, what does your portfolio look like that you're doing currently?
Well, we currently have a total of 70 properties that we currently control in Baltimore City, 35 that are renovated. The other 35 need to be renovated. So we're in the process of, and we're also an opportunity zone. So we have an opportunity fund. So we're raising capital in that fund. And I'm also in the process of bringing in outside investment capital from other states in order for us to expand our development. So our goal is to, the next 5 years, have a total of 300 properties all within West Baltimore that we're going to have in our rent to own program. And then we're using properties as mini incubators so that as people live in our properties, we're not just looking for home ownership or folks who just want to be homeowners. We're looking for folks who also want to be entrepreneurs, so we can provide them micro loans, coaching and mentoring. So we're really looking to really spark a revolution for folks who want to make a change in their lives, not just own a home, but build wealth, own a home, and then start a business at the same time.
Man, that is fantastic. So, one of the things I just heard you saying is the fact that you offer 5 years for that person to get in a position to do the rent to own. That's unheard of in this industry.
Yes.
So you're putting your money where your mouth is to offer that 5 year window, giving that actual partner and that stakeholder that type of commitment to their growth. Man, that is admirable.
Well, thank you. And what I've done in my years of being in real estate, I've been a real estate investor. I'm a developer currently. I've been a foreclosure mediation counselor. I've been a home ownership counselor. I've been a real estate agent. So I've pretty much set in every pretty much seat. Now I've got a chance to see what causes people to default, get into foreclosure,
Right.
or what prevents a person from being able to buy a house. And the method of just going to a home buying workshop for 1 8 hour day and then get a certificate to buy a house isn't sustainable. So I've seen folks who actually can afford to pay the monthly payment, and just because they're ignorant to how their principal, interest, taxes, insurance payment works, they're just financially illiterate to how the whole real estate model works. That leads to foreclosure. That leads to being behind. So 5 years gives us enough time to really delve deep into their habits, to take our time, improve their credit, pay off bad creditors, and really get them prepared so it's a sustainable purchase, not just a one-time purchase.
So I noticed you said you have 35 properties currently underneath your rent to own model, and you have another 35 that you are currently rehabbing. Based on where you're doing your rent to owns at and so on, what is your favorite zip codes? What areas are you targeting, or is it citywide?
Yeah, so I would say right now my favorite zip code is my favorite zip codes are 21223 and 21217. And I chose those zip codes primarily because my approach to doing real estate development was looking for institutional partners. If you're going to do large scale development, then you want to be able to find partners that you can align yourself with, such as Bon Secours Hospital, such as University of Maryland Biopark. We were also working with Catholic Charities because and Compton State University, mainly because these institutions, what they can do is they can help bring in hold the city accountable for some of the infrastructure issues, such as improving the sewage lines, bringing in more better electrical lines, improving BG&E's quality. So that's something that small developer can't do on his own. So if you're part of a larger scale development with those kind of partners, then you can also bring in that kind of heavyweight. And then also, like I said, being in an opportunity zone, even though we were there before the opportunity zone kind of kicked in, we were invited by Kaiser Permanente because they were coming into that neighborhood to do a lot of support and development as well. So that's one of my favorite zip codes, primarily because it doesn't have a lot of neighborhood politics. We've been able to establish great relationships with the neighborhood association organizations, and so I would say the community stakeholders, the community itself, we've talked to them about our plan. They love it, they support it, and we're working with the city. So everyone really uh, endorses the model primarily because we're talking about again development without displacement.
Excellent, excellent. Now, give me an example of what a deal structure would look like to you. What would you go into? What pricing are you looking to pay for a deal? How long it usually take you to rehab it, place it, and then add it to your current structure?
Okay, so I'll give you basically two scenarios. And
Okay.
I say two because there's a shell model. So if we buy a property from the city, then that's a different strategy because again, that's basically buying a shell. When I say shell, I'm speaking of a house that we say that has a sunroof, meaning no roof,
Right.
no back wall,
Mm-hmm.
just basically a facade. So that type of house, we're looking at acquisition costs of about $5,000. We're gonna put $100,000 in it for a house that's about maybe 1,000 square feet, and we're gonna sell that property in 5 years for about $150,000. So a person coming to our program is gonna put down, $5,000 into our program. They're gonna pay $1,500 a month. They're gonna buy their property from us in 5 years. A portion of their payment they're making every month is going directly to pay out a principal. So when they take ownership of the property as far as title, then they also have equity built up because it's a forced savings that's happening every single month.
Right.
And that's the shell development model. But if I'm working with properties that just need to be rehabbed, that's not a total shell that I may buy out here in the different zip codes, then those properties we approach differently. That may be a property that someone's just trying to sell, just maybe 20 years old. It just needs to be updated. Then I'm going to probably offer that person typically no more than $5,000. And I really have to want the property to offer $5,000 because with a lease option scenario, the great thing about it, there's several key things you have to negotiate on. You negotiate on the price, so you find out what a person's pain point and sticking point. If their sticking point is price, okay, no problem. Now I can negotiate with you to say, if I want to give you full price, I'm going to extend the terms. Or I'm going to say you cover the maintenance on it. Or I'm going to say I'm going to pay you a little bit a down payment. So the goal is always for me to put as little money down as possible
Right.
and offer you more on the back end.
Got
In
you.
those scenarios, we may offer somebody $2,000 down for a house that's $40,000. I may put $40,000. I'm always usually putting anywhere between 40 to 50 in every one of my houses because I have a set standard I want to do where we're replacing all the electrical, all the plumbing, new roof, new HVAC, plumbing, all those things, new appliances. That runs about $50,000. So we usually in about 40 acquisition price, $90,000 total, and then we're always looking in the price range of selling between 150 to $200,000.
Excellent, excellent. Once again, I want to thank everybody on the broadcast. We got Henry on the broadcast, Wydell, Steve LeRae, the insurance king himself. Thank you for being on the broadcast. Buddy, thank you for being on the broadcast. Bob Stroud, thank you. Sean Umstead, thank you for being on the broadcast. Durrell, Mr. D. Stevens, my man, thank you for being on the broadcast. Gil, and also Jane, thank you for being on the broadcast. We have individuals all on the social networking. Remember, it's up to you to bring it into the realm of Q&A. So don't forget, type your questions down there if you have any questions for my man King. If you're interested in rent-to-owns, if you're interested in learning more about what he's doing, like it up, heart it up, and question it up. It sounds like, Mr. King, that you're probably doing or finding a lot of your opportunities in city programs, maybe something like vacant evaluation. Would that be a good assessment?
I would say if I want to break it down by a percentage, we
Mm-hmm.
get maybe 15% of our properties from the city. We
Okay.
also work with local churches who share with their constituents, their congregation about our model because folks really love our model. So referrals account for about 40% of the properties we bring in, and we also have students we've trained within the roundtable members who do wholesaling. So they go out and they find properties for us as well. So that would constitute about maybe 60% of our properties. Roughly about 45%. So I would say that's pretty much a breakdown of as far as how we acquire properties, and maybe 5% from auctions.
Nice, nice. Now, talk about the financing side of what you guys are doing. You got 70 products that you're currently working on in any given time, especially right now. How are you dealing with financing difficulties? And do you see any potential difficulties with everybody talking about quote unquote the mortgage meltdown or financial situation that may be coming abroad us?
Well, I would say probably one of the best ways that I've found is raising private capital. I mean,
Mm.
getting, you can't really use hard money loans because we're doing rent to own and we're holding on to properties. So hard money doesn't really work in that context. And banks make it very difficult to lend because, again, most people are scared of rent to own because of all the negative press around it, the mistakes that people have made, and the
Mm-hmm.
fraud that's associated with it. So I've just been able to raise private capital from individuals who really support the higher purpose type model that we use. And we pay people 12% return on their money. I had initially get started, I had to pay people 25% on their return on their money, just to get things going. So it was more of a riskier model initially, but now we kind of settled down in the 12%. And that's where the bulk of our financing comes in is private financing, investors, a lot of people who are members of the Conscious Capitalism Network. Like I said, owners of these organizations, I know them personally, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. They use what's called social impact fund bonds, and they care more about what the impact, how many jobs are being created, how many houses are being renovated. They care more about that than they do the return. And so just aligning myself with folks who really are in tune with the mission, see the value of it, and they want to support something that's going to make the world a better place.
Man, I love it. Do me a favor, Mr. King. Take us through the point of the customer, or should I say, the stockholder who wants to be in your company, who wants to move into one of your properties. What do their process look like?
Okay, that's a community stakeholder. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, what we do is we sit down with an individual, and we want to make sure they understand that there's a commitment they have to make first and foremost. That's the first thing to say. To be a community stakeholder, you have to agree to number one, coming on a monthly basis and meeting with our counselors, doing a full disclosure of your financial situation. So letting someone look at your bank statements every month, pulling your credit report every single month. We work with different nonprofit organizations, so they're not getting hit on the credit score side, and be open to counseling and being engaged. That's number one. Number two, they have to be also willing to follow the plan we lay out, which we offer over more than 60 hours of credit education, financial education, home ownership education. They have to attend all those classes, both in person and online. A lot of our content is definitely online, but we have the in-person courses just so we can keep people engaged and
Right.
see them, make sure they're part of something that you can get lost in the weeds of just everything just online. The third thing is we use a $400 a month surplus criteria as affordability. So we don't use credit. So you can have bad credit.
Right.
We understand, again, credit could be based on medical bills. Credit could be based on student loan bills. And we both know those industries have a lot of fraud in them. So why should you deny someone the opportunity for home ownership based on because they were sick or because they were involved in education? So we work on your credit, but you have to have, after we go through your budget, we go through your complete budget, and you have to have no less than $400 a month left over after you pay all your bills, including your Netflix, chewing gum, smoking cigarettes. You have $400 left over, and because we want you to have that money set aside that you can begin to put towards $200 towards savings and $200 towards an emergency fund. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna end up being house poor. So we really stress that. So if a person doesn't have that $400 a month surplus, then we tell them that. And what we're doing right now, we're looking for less affordable housing because the cheapest price point to get into our program is $5,000 down and 15 a month. So we are beginning to look and expand outside of that to find a house that we can get people in for maybe $1,000 a month. with $2,500 down. So we don't have that product yet, but we are beginning to expand it. And as we get more capital in, we will begin to do that to make that affordable for folks who don't have it. But I just want to make this point real quick too.
Mm-hmm.
And we really go through a very deep analysis of someone's credit. And I go through, like, for example, someone tells me I can't afford that. And I say, well, let me look at your bills. And I'll see that they have a cell phone bill they're paying $150 a month. They have a cable bill that they're actually paying $175 a month. And then I say, well, for example, myself, my cell phone bill is $40 a month. So you don't need to pay $150. So if you really want to be in this house, got to cut that back. Got to get rid of cable. So the question becomes, what are you willing to give up in order to gain in the future? And that's the conversation we have.
Yeah, you got to give up to get in. I agree with you 100%. Now, what do you see the future of the Conscious RT in the next 5 years? Where do you see you guys going at from now? Because I know right now you're mainly in the 21223 zip code, 21217 zip code. Do you see yourself expanding to other zip codes? Where do you see the company going at in the next 5 years?
Well, we're going to be Baltimore citywide. You know, we start with these two zip codes primarily because a number of initially city-owned properties in these areas, the number of the fact that we can get control of a block. So we have a kind of by the block type philosophy and strategy that we use. So these had this area is Sandtown, Winchester. They have the most blighted, so we can purchase the blocks. But as we begin to expand, we're going to be all over Baltimore City because on the east side, I own properties on Broadway in the East Oliver area.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely do some development more over there in that area. Up by Morgan State. So it's going to be a citywide program for sure. And then after that, we're going to, build a model here in Baltimore City. I've already been invited to Atlanta and New Orleans as other potential cities that want this program there, but we want to get the infrastructure really solidified here before we move on to those other cities.
Well, man, I have to say I am definitely take my hat off to you. As I've spoken to you a couple of times before already, you are making a difference that everyone need to look at and say, man, if I can do half as much as what this brother is doing, I'm going to make Baltimore a better place to live in. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate everything you're doing. Someone who wants to reach out to you, someone who wants to work with you, someone who wants to get involved with what you're doing, how can they do that?
Well, they can do that two ways. They can one of the best ways, they can email us directly at info@consciousrt.com, and they can get connected. We're more of a personalized company because everything's about really understanding what a person's goals. Are you really conscious? Can you really adhere to the program guidelines? So that's one way. Visit our website at consciousrt.com, and that's CONSCIOUSR as in round, T as in table.com. They visit our website and they can enter the email information, and we'll follow up with them there as well. They can also visit our Facebook group and look for Conscious Roundtable on Facebook. Then they also can visit our meetup group, which is Conscious roundtablemeetup.com.
Now, I know for a fact you got a meetup coming up. I think it's next weekend, right?
That is correct.
So go right ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, you know me. Everybody in this area knows who I am and what I'm all about. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't put a lot of meetups out there for individuals because when you put your name to something, you have to really know what that person is all about, what that group is all about. So I'm willing to tell you guys, absolutely, if you're not doing anything next weekend, definitely hit out to this brother's meetup. Give them the actual web address for the meetup where they can go to again.
They can go to the meetup. They can go to our website at consciousrt.com. There'll be a link there to register for the meetup, as well as they can go to consciousroundtablemeetup.com, and they can actually enroll there as well.
And remember, guys, if you want to reach Mr. King, you can also hit him up at info@consciousrt.com. That's info@consciousrt.com. Man, Mr. King, time has flown past so fast. Our 30 minutes is up. I want to personally thank you for spending this time with us. I know you and I will be having more conversations over the next weeks and months and so on. But thank you, man. I appreciate all that you're doing, and thank you for giving us your time and your information today.
Well, absolutely. And I want to say thank you, Charles, for putting me on your interviewing me, putting me on your show. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I think I've heard a lot of great things about you, and it's been a pleasure meeting you. And I love to have been able to talk to your network and share this information. I look forward to the infinite possibilities as well.
Thank you, my friend. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Hit it up, like it up, heart it up. If you like this interview, if you love this interview, if you want to push this interview out there, Duru interview, share it, because I got to tell you, it was fire. So take care. This is Charles Blair, the Mad Scientist, signing out, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Duru Interviews. Bye-bye.